Welcome back, poker people, to another day of hand reading. Today is 47 of 66 days in a row. I do appreciate you spending a little bit of time with me. So today, for day 47 of 66, we are doing the heroes range. We just did 4 hand reading practices in a row of the villains range. Now let's flip the script and look at myself here. So we're going to be looking at various 2-bet pre-flop hands. We could start off in the MP here. We could just look for some good action and see what we see. Lots of check calling, lots of just straight checking, passive play here. Lots of checking. We have this sorted by turn action, so we see all the checks first. And then now come the other kinds of plays, bets and the calls, the bet call, the check call. Well, this one sounds interesting. We are facing a limper. We raise, we bet the flop, bet, and then call when somebody raises on that third king on the board, and then we check call the river. So this may be an interesting hand. I'm going to assume that I've got some kind of pocket pair that kind of pot controlling with. But let's see what happens here. So let's see. We got to, of course, open up Flopzilla and our heroes range hand reading template here. As always, these are our tools. We're always doing these three, or using these 3 things. Hand number 878, 77, 438. All right, so in MP, see what happens here. Oh, look at this table. Lovely 53-1, 26-5, loose aggressive, another loose passive, and a loose passive. This is a killer table to be playing at. Let me give the loose passive. I always give my loose passive players green. As the color helps them just stand out a bit. 29-22, Vision Poker is a loose aggressive player. Let's give him the orange tag. Cool beans. Loving it, loving it. So this is a perfect table. I mean, the only other kind of aggressive player is directly across from us. So we have position half the time. They have position the other half. And the rest of the table, we want to see as many hands as we can versus all these players. Full stack, 40 big blinds, little over 60 big blinds. But this is a great table. I'm glad I'm here. You can see I'm up a little bit, $31 for my $25 buy-in. Let's see what happens. Impulsive limps. I decide to ISO raise. Good. I like it. One caller. Oh, nice. So I ISO'd the short stack loose passive player. Shorter stack loose passive. He folds, but this bigger stack loose passive player with position on me decides to call. But so be it. I probably have a range advantage versus look how often he calls. 53% of hands he sees, only 1% of the time he raises. This guy loves to see flops, so I'm really happy to be in a hand with him right here. And even though he has position on me, things are looking pretty good. So in the MP, isolate one limper and a loose passive. 53-1 calls, and the limper folds. So we're heads up to this flop right here. Now, if we think about what is my isolating range from the MP. Now, I'll be honest, it's actually kind of a wide range, my isolating range from the MP. We'll start with 30%. I'm often not isolating all those offsuit aces, not isolating these here. Normally not the Jack 10 offsuit, not the King 10. This is probably where my isolation starts with the offsuit hands, and then down here with the Ace 9 as well. Oftentimes not isolating here, but I will isolate 7-6 and the 9-7. The Jack 8 on occasion. I mean, basically, I just really want to see flops with this guy in position. The more I do, the better. But I don't want to isolate a super wide range. If I'm isolating way too much, I'm probably getting called by these loose passive players, which isn't bad. I mean, you know, get into the flop with a lot of fish. Great, that's a possible money-making situation. But I don't want to get there with way too weak a hands, you know. I like every pair isolating with. I mean, sometimes I will just limp in with these hands, deuces through 5s, but no. I like the isolation play. These are all in my isolation raising range here. Occasionally, I'll go down as far as, you know, every suited king, but not always. Actually, I could give myself, because I do it sometimes, but oftentimes not all the suited queens. I might go to Queen 8 and Jack 8 right there for those weaker suited broadways. All right, so this looks like a pretty decent range right here. 24% of the time, I am isolating this loose passive limper. Oh, didn't get the combos. 318 combos, pretty wide range. Now, this guy decides to call 53% range. Geez, let's just give him pocket fours. Yeah, let's just give him a small pocket pair. I mean, he could have anything. He could have a suited ace deuce, ace three, ace five offsuit. Who knows what he has? We'll give him pocket four. So if he does have a baby pair in his range, currently our range is at 53% equity versus this baby pair. Does it change much? 55% versus deuces, 57% versus threes, 57% versus deuces. What if it's a middle pair like eights? Then our equity drops to below 50%. So where is it at 50? Probably pocket sixes is 50. 49%, pocket fives. There we go. That's the closest. Fives and sixes are roughly 50-50 shot versus our range right here. But we'll put them on the fours, that first range I thought about, or first hand I thought about. Flop comes, oh, crap. I don't really want to give him the fours. Let's give him an overpair to the four. That's a little bit better there. I just don't want to automatically give him a full house on the flop. You know, I want equities to make a little bit more sense, not give him a killer hand right away. So he's got pocket fives on this board. Oh, king, king, four. Spade, diamond, spade, right? Yep, good. So on this board, if he does have that second pair, sure, we've got plenty of kings in our range, but we have plenty of aces that didn't hit anything, suited hands that didn't hit anything, and pocket pairs that are below the kings but are currently above the fives. So we have a pretty decent shot right now at 53% equity if he does have that baby pair. What happens? Now, he is in position, remember. I'm betting $1.30, exactly half pot. The guy only folds 22% of the time. So I probably have a hand that can be betting for value, that can get called by a couple of spades, by just a four, by these random lower hands. So I probably have something like eights or nines is my guess. Maybe even a suited ace is always possible. And tens and jacks, of course, would be betting as well. And he decides just to call. So what are we betting just a half pot? Totally doing it with quads, trying to build that pot now, and probably betting bigger on a future street. I'm sorry, no, I got to keep that in. Full houses, what is it? Oh, king four and pocket fours. Yep, I'm making that bet. Versus a loose passive player, you don't want to slow play. If you hit a hand worth going for value, go for frickin' value. Overpair, totally betting aces. Pocket pair below, yep, totally betting those right now. Because, you know, he doesn't have a ton of kings in his range. There's only two kings left in the deck. And sure, he could have king, queen, king, jack. He could all the way have down to king, deuce offsuit. For all we know, he's a super passive player. So he does have kings in his range. But for the most part, a lot of the stuff that he has right now just does not have a king in it at all. So I can be betting those pocket pairs below top pair. Mid pairs. I do, even though he doesn't fold often, I think I am betting at least one street with that weak four right there, which is only the ace four. Now, these other deuces and threes, I'm probably not betting oftentimes. Although, you know, come to think of it, this is actually a really hard board to hit. I might be betting and then just giving up once he calls. I might do the one street bet. Because, sure, he folds 22% of the time, only over 80 hands. But here's the thing, my half pot bet only needs to work 33% of the time. So if he folds anywhere over half of the time, I mean, if he folds anywhere near 33%, it's worth it on this hard to hit board. But once he calls, if I have nothing, I'm probably just giving it up. So I do like the bet with the weak pairs. Even the ace highs, I like the bet with the ace high hands. Flush draws, I like the bet. Two card, I'm not going to say that those are automatically betting. No, a lot of those are ace highs as well. So, Okay, so we're saying I am betting 80% of the time. He folds, he's calling about 80% of the time. So I think in general, this is not a good bluff bet, but I'm mixing in some bluffs with my value hands as well. So I don't think it's necessarily a bad bluff to be making. One street right here versus the fish, and we'll see what happens. Because he's so passive, if he doesn't have much of anything, he might let me see a free river if I have a flush draw right now, or even if I have like an underpair like pocket tens. The turn can come whatever. The river can give me a 10 for a straight value hand against him. So this kind of bet right now could scare him on the turn on this board if I do check to him. So I'm going to be c-betting 80% of the time. Whoops. With 208 combos. All right. Oh, so if that is our range right there, versus the range versus the under pair, our range has 59% equity. Things aren't looking too bad right now. Oh, King of Clubs hits, and then we bet again a half pot. I like it. King of Clubs hits right there. Okay. So I really doubt he didn't fold on the 2 kings. Is he really going to fold on a 3rd king if he thought he was calling with a good hand on the flop? He's probably calling again on the turn, on the 2nd turn king. And he decides to min raise us here. So first off, let's just think very simple. What is betting half pot? Totally betting half pot with quads again. Because that's such a scary flop, I don't want to really increase it to 2/3 or 3/4 or even a full pot size bet if I do have a really good hand, because I want him to call one street. If I increase the percentage of the pot that I'm betting, that's often an indication that I really like my hand. I want to keep it small on such a scary card. I'm not getting called by much other than, pocket pairs like this that have a full house, but hopefully a lower full house than mine. If I have pocket 3s, sure, I have a full house right now, but it doesn't beat anything on the board or most of the pocket pairs in his range. So quads, I'm betting. Full houses, I'm betting. Over pairs, totally betting again. I got kings full of aces. The nut, I guess it's the nut full house. Sure, quads beat me, but it's the nut full house, kings full of aces. I'm betting right there. Pocket pair below trips. Well, yeah, they're all full houses. Betting all. Oh, actually, come to think of it, all these full houses, once I click this, all of this adds up to 67. Let's just do the math real quick. 55 plus 12 is 67. So if I didn't click this, but I can select just individual full house hands. That's what this little indent means. So, but once I select full house, I am making this bet with every single full house. Oh, wait, am I? No, I'm not. Let me think about it again. Over pairs, I am making the bet with. Pocket pairs below trips. Yep, making those under full houses. Just the random 4s, sure, I can bet right there again. And then the weak pairs, maybe not going to be betting those. Maybe just checking and hoping to see a cheap showdown with kind of a weak full house. No made hand, not betting either. So I think I'm double barreling only for value here. And you can see it's quads and most of the full houses, not those weak pair full houses. But see, here's the thing. That's my betting range. He decides to raise me, and then I decide to just call. So what am I just calling with at this point? I don't believe in slow playing versus the fish. If I had quads, I'd be re-raising here. So I don't have quads. I do have plenty of full houses. It's not the... because he called that scary flop, he could have the 4th king in this instance. It's possible. So I might be slow playing and planning on calling here and then check calling the river with the aces. Kings full of aces. I could be. Pocket pairs below, totally with those ones, calling again. Especially because they do beat that 4 if he does have a random 4 and just wants to bluff raise. A weird bluff raise from a loose passive player, but it's always possible. Mid pairs, I think I'm calling those too. I think so, yeah. And the weak pairs, no. So, yeah, I mean, the quads, I got to remove the quads. So right now, what I have are just full houses in my range, but they're all just the weaker full houses. Not the weaker, I'm sorry. They're all full houses in my range, but they are susceptible to quads, and I might be slow playing the nut full house there. Yeah, I might be. Given that a super loose passive player raised, quads are a possibility. I don't think this is an auto re-raise shove with pocket aces. I think I can slow play this right here. And if you think about it, look at the size of that pot right now. It's $15. He has a full stack to pot, 1x behind in his stack, and it's really easy. He could just shove right here, and I could be calling with just my aces. Yep, or kings full of aces. Now I check, and he bet 780, just half pot, and I am just calling right here. So, I think I could be making the call with just the aces. All of these pocket pairs below. Oh, the 3 of clubs comes. Yeah. So on that 3 of clubs, really don't have quads over pairs. I could just be making the call. I could be just calling with all these. And the mid pairs, I'm probably folding those mid pairs. Really. I mean, the guy is such a loose passive player, and he woke up with a raise on the turn. He probably has kings for a fool's beat, full of fours beat. So I'm probably folding those ones right there. So yeah, I'm going to give myself this range. Down to just 49 combos. And 89% of that prior street range. Yep, I think so. So if that is my range versus just pot fives, of course I have 99% equity. But most likely he either has a king or he might even have something like nines for his bet here. It's possible. And if he does have a hand like nines, you know, we're 50-50 against it with this range right here. So let's see what happens. King 9, damn it, he has the quads, and I have the under pair of tens. So the way I played the hand does make sense, and I slowed down, even though I do have the, what is it? First, second, third, fourth nut full house. He didn't re-raise me pre-flop, so I don't really put him on aces, and he could have called with queens and jacks, though. It does make sense. But then look at that. He called my ISO raise with king 9 offsuit and just got super lucky to beat my pocket tens. Pre-flop, king 9 offsuit. Let's clear this. Clear. King 9 offsuit versus pocket tens. I mean, we are a clear favorite 72% of the time. But that's pre-flop before the board hit and everything. So we ranged myself correctly. And I think by slow playing and treating this super loose passive player, treating his turn raise as a total value raise allowed me to save money. It would have been really easy for myself or a lot of players if this guy was this guy. I would have most likely re-raised and got it in on the turn. Quite possibly. Not for sure, but quite possibly. I mean, look, he folds. Let's see what he folds. In position, raising cbets on the turn, only 25%. Actually, that's kind of a wider range for raising on the turn. So, yeah, I think Vision Poker could be bluffing a lot of turns, a lot more than Robbie 34 here. His passive nature and his turn and river aggression made me just slow down in pot control there instead of getting it in with the fourth nut flush hand, nut full house hand. So I think that was a good play on my part. I like my pre-flop, my flop play, and then my turn, my bet call. Sure, why not? As soon as he raised, he let me know that he possibly has kings, but he could have made that raise with even nines or eights, I think. I don't think his raise necessarily is only with quads in that instance. Good pocket pairs could be raising me as well, putting me on like an under pair. It's possible. Alrighty, y'all. Thank you very much for watching day 47 of 66 in a row. Come back later for day 48.